Morning, Pete, North Las Vegas. We are back on the LR308. I've been having some cycling issues with it that I'm trying to solve. And if you saw the last video, I had pulled this rifle speed gas block completely off the barrel. I was looking for obstructions in the gas tube, the gas block. I was looking for any appreciable gas leaks, and I didn't find anything. So I don't think this is the issue. So the other issue I found was I originally started out with an Aero Precision bolt catch in this rifle. Now the Aero Precision bolt catch, the top of it, as far as I could tell, sat up about 50 thousandths taller. And what was happening is during actual firing of the rifle on the last round bolt hold open, empty magazine, the bolt was coming past the bolt catch and the bolt carrier would get caught on the bolt catch. So instead of being caught here, the bolt would get caught here. And so I kind of thought that maybe that Aero Precision somehow was contributing to that. So I put this New Frontier Armory bolt catch in. And but I got to thinking, I don't think that's the entire problem here. It may have contributed to the problem, but I don't think it's the problem. So what I did was I got a hold of Clint at heavybuffers.com. And what he was explaining was, even though your gas may be about right and the gas port may be about right, he says you can still have an over velocity problem on your bolt carrier group if you don't have your buffer and your buffer spring set up correctly. So anyway, I gave him all the specs of the rifle. I told him I'm using a Wilson Combat 18-inch Tactical Hunter. Gas port dimension is around 86 to 88 thousandths. It's a rifle length gas system. I told him I was using a Wilson Combat 18.8 ounce bolt carrier group and the Aero Precision 308 buffer and spring. And this comes in at 3.8 ounces. So he got back to me pretty quick. And he said, I don't think you're short stroking. He says, I think you've got the opposite problem. As I was saying, he was explaining to me that I probably have too much carrier speed, too much velocity. So this is the first option that he recommended in the email I just showed you. And this is a standard 2.5-inch 308 stubby. Comes in at 6.5 ounces. And this is a drop-in kit. So if you're using a standard mil-spec dimension carbine M4 buffer tube, which on the inside dimension comes in right at 7 inches, then this is what you use. And so we'll do a comparison between his buffer and spring versus the Aero Precision. So both the Aero Precision and the heavy buffer spring came in right at 73 thousandths on the wire gauge. Heavy buffer advertises their spring, their carbine 308 spring, at 11 1/8. And it comes in like right there. I couldn't find the length specs for Aero Precision, but theirs comes in at about 10 5/8. All of my research seems to indicate that the spring should be between 11 1/8 and maybe even up to 11 3/4. So I believe the Aero Precision spring is short. The Aero Precision spring also has 25 coils, where the heavy buffer has 29 coils. So we're going to do a quick check. We're going to drop this in the rifle, and I'm going to compress this and make sure that that bumper contacts the back of the buffer tube before this spring goes into fully compressed and starts to bind. And make sure we've got plenty of operating clearance. I don't think we're going to have a problem, but let's do that and find out. Pushed it in as far as it can go. The bumper hits the back of the receiver before the spring binds, so we got plenty of operating clearance. So, this rifle is ready for a test run. But before we finish this video, we got to talk about Heavy Buffers Option 2. So option number 2 that I also purchased is using an A5 collapsible buttstock. So what's the difference between a standard mil-spec dimension, CAR 15 or M4, versus the A5? Well, let's take a look. The A5 inside depth is 7 3/4, 7.750. And that's the difference between a standard mil-spec, which comes in at 7 inches, versus the A5. Now, this particular A5 is made by Forward Controls, so we'll kind of take a close look at that, see what some of the improvements are. The Forward Controls has 9 positions for your buttstock. So should be 9 of those slots right there. Also comes with a couple extra drain holes in addition to the one on the back. So other than being 3/4 of an inch longer, that's about it for the Forward Controls. Now, one of the things I was concerned about is depending on whose buttstock you use, I've seen where some of these you run into an issue where you try to go all the way forward to the last adjustment, and the way that the buttstock is designed, because the A5 is longer, you won't be able to get that last adjustment. Or if you have an open-ended buttstock, your buffer tube will be sticking out back here. So the Magpul doesn't do that. The Magpul allows plenty of room to run this A5 normally. Because we're using an A5 buffer tube now, we get to run a standard carbine dimension buffer. So that's your carbine buffer, and this is your stubby, your 308 that you use for your standard mil-spec buffer tube. He's got warnings and notes all over the place. Don't try to run the stubby in an A5. And even though this AR-15, external dimensions are the same, he also has warnings and notes about trying to use an AR-15 buffer with an A5. So if you think you're just going to pop that bumper off and put some heavier weights in there to match maybe the A5 weight buffer and then run this, he says bad stuff's going to happen. I'm not sure why. Maybe something going on with the material or internal dimensions. I don't know. Also, on the A5 setup, you have to use a rifle length buffer spring. And comes in at right about 13 3/4, 13.750. You cannot run a shorter spring with the A5. You have to use a rifle length. The number of coils is 34, and the wire gauge is still right about 73,000, 74 thousandths. According to Clint at Heavy Buffers, this is supposed to be one of the best setups for your 308 as far as felt recoil. I may have already mentioned it, but this carbine 308 buffer, not the CAR 10 stubby, but this comes in at 8.5 ounces. When you order from Heavy Buffers, you order this as a kit. You also get the M plate and the castle nut. So you get everything you need to install it on your rifle. If the heavy buffer weights don't work out, this is plan V, Victor. I bought some extra weights for these Odin Works adjustable, So if I need to fine tune down from the installed 6.5 ounce that I just put in the rifle, and I need to get a little bit lower on the weight, then these are the combinations of weights that I need to get to the buffer weight. So that is plan V, Victor. Now plan W, Whiskey, is putting a non-adjustable gas block on here. I have gas tubes on order as we speak from White Oak Armament at the correct 15.4 inch length with a bend in them. These rifle speeds use straight gas tubes. So if I'm going to go to a non-adjustable, I got to use the tube with the bend in it. So that's coming. So that was what? Whiskey? Victor Whiskey? Yeah. All right, so plan X-ray. If none of the rest of this crap works out, I have purchased some drills to open up the gas port to try to tune the rifle that way. And these are the sizes that I ordered. Now, this is my writing. I don't trust McMaster Carr. Maybe they got drill bits mixed up. So I measured them just to make sure I got what I ordered. Now, these are not ordinary drill bits. These are titanium-coated, super-duper, cobalt-depleted uranium, dual flyback binuptial cusnepsidizer drill bits. And so they're designed to drill through hardened steel, tool steel, stainless steel. And I got the shorter drill bit so I can choke up on it in my drill and reduce the likelihood of snapping a drill bit off in the barrel. Okay, so plan Z. I'm not sure what plan Z is. Break these rifles down and sell the parts. That'll be plan Z. All right, well, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. Hopefully I shared some useful or at least semi-useful information. I will get this rifle running. Pete in North Las Vegas, over and out.